The college football experience, Oregon Ducks 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their brand new Pick 8 sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Yes, they do have college football and college basketball. Check it out. UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. That's RITHMM. Yes, claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Once again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Coach June Jones, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Football experience, Oregon Ducks 2024 season preview episode. And what a year it could be. A lot of optimism in Eugene and an exciting time, I think, to be a Duck fan despite the demise of the Pac-12. And I know not the biggest fan of them in the Big Ten, but it is what it is. We gotta move on. YouTube.com/the college experience. Hop on over there, hit that like and subscribe button as we're breaking down all 134 college football teams with the preview for every single team in the land. If you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
Nobody knows nothing. Somebody knows. Double the price, but no one touches Dundee.
Could this be the year, Patty C? Could it be? I'm sorry, I haven't even introduced you yet. But could it be the year? They were so close a couple times with Chip Kelly. They were knocking on the door with Mike Maloney.
Pretty damn close door. Last year.
Yes. It should be fun to talk Duck football. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing. Patty C is the place to be.
Hi-oh. Well, yeah, buddy.
Let's get it going, all right? Autzen Stadium hosting a playoff game. That sounds about as good as fucking possible, all right? I mean, it doesn't get much better than that,
very
right?
Very likely to happen, you know.
They might even get the bye week, though. They might get the bye, but we want the playoff game in Autzen.
Yeah.
One of the better stadiums, I think, one of the more underrated stadiums in college football. And I just love it.
They should have the very first playoff game at Autzen. Friday night, boom.
Are you kidding me?
Imagine a much better environment.
Kidding me? I mean, just be absolutely fucking insane. December weather in Oregon. Give me a little rain, football weather. Don't ever go dome in Autzen, all right? But buddy, look, this is a big time year, and it's funny. I know there's speculation. Phil Knight is like 86, 87 years old. He wants to see a championship before he kicks the bucket. Could this be the year? Dan Lanning, everyone was speculating that he could go to other jobs, and he says, no, I'm staying here. I forget what was that last year. I feel like everyone had him penciled in for somewhere. Where was that? A&M. And he said, nope, I'm staying here in Eugene. We're building this thing. We're going to win a damn championship. And he sounded like Sam Weiss telling people to go back to Cleveland. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an exciting time. We're going to talk Lanning, the offense, defense, special teams, go game by game on the Ducks schedule. But before we do that, I want to tell you, you are listening to the College Football Experience, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And we want you to check out the latest episode of the SGP Stories. That's out on our Patreon. And the guys, myself, that is Stacking the Money Green and Real Money Kramer, do a forensic files style deep dive on the Bobby Petrino motorcycle accident that cost him his job about a decade ago in Fayetteville. I may or may not be wearing a neck brace with a Sugar Bowl hat and an Arkansas jacket. So check it out. Plus, make sure to check out the WNBA Gambling Podcast, as Terrell and Scott have you covered with their red hot locks. So hop on over there. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right. We are back talking Duck football. Where you at with Dan Lanning, Patty C? Is he the man? Is he the guy to get him to the mountaintop?
I mean, pretty darn impressive. And the fact that he kind of seems like he's cut from the same cloth as Kirby Smart suggests that, yes, he probably is the guy to get them all the way there.
I mean, they do co-OCs, co-DCs, so there's two for each. But I mean, this guy's 22-5 in 2 years as a head coach. He was an assistant at Alabama, Georgia, Memphis, Sam Houston State, Arizona State, Pitt. He's been around. He's paid his dues. All right. And he says they're
only
they're
38 years old.
Yeah. He says they're going for clicks. Remember his classic quote about Colorado. But I mean, he's done a phenomenal job. You look back a season ago, and it's hard to really. I mean, they were damn close to they probably should have made the playoffs. I think you have an argument to be said that they had a better resume than a few schools. That I think you could argue. I think they had a better resume than Texas in a way.
Maybe.
I mean, Texas lost to Oklahoma.
They're only struggle with Texas Tech almost beat Oregon,
Texas
right?
Tech is the one that, if you're looking for the blemish, Oregon got very fortunate to win in Lubbock. Very fortunate to win in Lubbock. Added on a late score to make it look worse than it was. Besides that, but at the same time, they could have easily won at Washington. That game was back and forth, and
probably should have won the first one.
Yeah. But they were knocking on the door. Really, I mean, they're pretty damn close. They were 6 points away from going undefeated.
Yeah, that's 3 3-point losses to Washington in 2 years for Lanning.
And with DeBauer gone, you got to think it's theirs to snatch the. Well, I guess there's no Pac-12, but you know what I mean. It's there for the taking now. How do you really assess them coming into the Big Ten?
Well, I think they're pretty well situated here and well prepared for it, just because they have. It's funny that Dan Lanning, you mentioned him giving Colorado a hard time about being all about the clicks, when that has been Oregon's MO forever. They are the flashiest different uniform every week, click getting team there has been. But now that he's trying to change, I mean, he really has changed the DNA of them to
I don't get
a defensive team.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They were still the number one offense last year. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, they've gotten better in the trenches than, say, years prior. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with NIL. You know what I mean? Even though I know before you could argue maybe they might have been one of the schools to drop a bag or two, but
quite
there wasn't many in the Pac-12. I feel like. Actually, I know
there was Oregon was it.
Well, I know from someone's own personal account that I'm friends with that. I'll put it like this: he was, it was Oregon and USC. That was the only in the Pac-12.
Well, yeah. What didn't Oregon with that latch C-strunk thing, kind of get? I forget what it was, using a recruiting service or something, and somehow getting an edge, through financial means on the recruiting game. So, but it's no secret that Oregon, obviously, that's been their play, because there's just not that much talent in the state of Oregon from a football standpoint for them to be able to go down into LA and get the studs that they've gotten, and all over the country. So it's definitely a financial thing. But now that that's legal, and apparently Phil Knight has opened up the checkbook entirely, look, they're in a great position from a resources standpoint. And I think, like, from a DNA standpoint, they're going to be able to, maybe not Michigan, but they might be able to bang with Michigan.
I think that's what's great about NIL is, now it's legal, and you can, if you're in the middle of nowhere, Boise State, Oregon, whatever, they can just say, hey, we're going to be fucking awesome. We don't have a pro team. We don't need a pro team. All right. Pro team might move every 10 years or whatever, like the Raiders do. Let's go all in on this.
Booster.
Let's go. Yeah. So Dan Lanning, 22-5 in 2 years as a head coach. Patty C, we do this segment for the power schools of worst losses over the past, 20 some years since the year 2000. There's really not a lot besides Boise State in the mid-major ranks. TCU did catch them, I believe. But Boise State's 3-0 against the Ducks. That's remarkable. But I did put down some of the other ones. BYU did catch them too one year. But they have losses. I would say these would be their worst losses to power schools: Wake Forest, Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan State, Nebraska, and Iowa State got them once. Now, the reason why I highlighted a lot of those was they're entering the Big Ten, and they do have losses to Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan State, and Nebraska over the past 20 years. Is that, like, I thought the Pac-12 last year was a lot better than the Big Ten last year. Like, and I still stand by that because
Across
there's
the
so
board,
much,
and even
well, there's
at the
just
top, yes,
there's so much shit in the Big Ten. Like I still
guess
say,
clearly
like,
not at the very top because Michigan won the national championship, but
yeah, but even that, like, they had a very light schedule, I thought, but
yeah.
My point is that there's just so much dead teams in the Big Ten to me, like, over the years. It's not like the SEC adding Oklahoma and Texas, because to me, like, there's just so many good teams in the SEC. Whereas the Big Ten, like, Oregon's one that really can, I think they're playing in an easier conference now. I know there's Ohio State and Michigan there, and they get both on the schedule this year.
It's not like the Pac-12 was awesome for decades there. They were usually solid. Last year was probably the best year they ever had, ironically, but it was still a decent conference. There's not that much dead weight, maybe 2 or 3 teams in any given year, but the rest of the conference was typically solid. So I agree that there's more dead weight. I don't think there's probably, USC used to be what Ohio State is now, so they had to go through that. But there's a few more high-end teams than they've had to go through, during the last 20 years in the Pac-12. But there's also a lot more dead weight. So I don't know how that impacts their schedule, whether that's more wins or more losses.
Well, unfortunately, this year they do get Ohio State and Michigan on the schedule, but that won't be most years. You know what I mean? Like, when I think about Maryland, Rutgers, Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, Minnesota, it makes me want to fall asleep. In the Pac-12, like, yeah, you had some dead weight during the when they went to 12. Colorado, obviously, with the exception of 2018, has been shitty.
Oregon State was bad for a long time.
Yeah, but Oregon State was also good when that thing first started. The Big 12, when the Pac-12. So I'm not even going to use them as the example.
Arizona was bad for a while. Oh, they had up and down years.
Not in the 12 though. I feel like in the 12, when they went to 12, they had Rich Rod.
That's true.
They played.
That's
yeah,
true.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, I feel like it's more so Cal, Colorado.
In fact, Arizona got them in one of the years when Oregon was having a pretty good season. Yeah, if I recall correctly.
But it's going to be, so I think Oregon can really benefit, especially like over the next couple of years. We'll see what this Big Ten money can do for these programs. If Minnesota will be on a different wavelength than they ever were before with this TV money. So I'm intrigued though. I'm intrigued. I hate them in the Big Ten. If I'm being honest, I hate all those teams in the Big Ten. I even hate Maryland and Rutgers in the Big Ten, to tell you the truth. Yeah. But it is what it is. And I think if you're Oregon, you're saying we can actually, benefit from this. Teams got to come to the West Coast. It's a far trip as much as we have to go to the East. we might be able to take advantage of that. So
that's true. And this
yeah.
year, there's a big one that, it might be a significant home field advantage, which, in an otherwise evenly matched game could be the difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Folks, we're going to dive into the offense in a second here, and what to expect from the Ducks on the field this fall. Before we do that, I want to tell you that the college football experience quack style is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8 is now live. Create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry with more picks to make and extra ways to win. The excitement is higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 3 to 25 times your original amount. You can now use specials on Boost on all flex entries as well. Don't miss your chance to try it out before it's gone. So sign up, and when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. I mentioned they have college football, they have college basketball. There's great edges you can get there nonstop. I know we're in summer, but I'm playing MLB, playing CFL. In fact, Vernon Adams is a guy that a former Duck. That I CFL, there's some sharp edges. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Circus Survivor and Circa Millions. Circus Sports is back with Circus Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. And of course, Circa contests have no rake. Yes, Circa Millions, you pick 5 NFL teams ATS each week and compete for $6 million or survive the NFL gauntlet to claim the $10 million prize. Sign up in person at Circus Sports between now and September 7th. And use a proxy to play from anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. But look, if you don't have a trip booked yet for Vegas before the football season kicks, may I recommend the Ultimate Contest Weekend? It's a great time to go out. You can hang with Stacking the Money Green and Real Money Kramer from the Sports Gambling Podcast and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world between August 22nd and August 24th. All right, we are back talking Duck football. Amazon says these guys have no clue what they're talking about. Well, I'd say sure. But you do, buddy. You know what you're talking about, all right?
I love it. Tell us. Get in the chat and tell us.
We've only been covering the sport for fucking our entire lives. But yeah, it's okay. Talk your shit. It's okay.
Hey, real Oregon fan. I'm not going to sit here and say I pay more attention to Oregon football than every Oregon fan out there. Tell us, but hey.
Yeah. Where do we have no clue that we're talking about? That's what I would like to know. Where? Tell us what exact thing that we've mentioned, because we haven't even got in. If you had told me like the backup quarterback, we haven't even started talking backup quarterback. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, but yeah. I don't know. Anyway, youtube.com. Come talk your shit. We recommend it. It's your right as a fucking American to get over here and talk your shit. But yes, youtube.com/the college experience. Patty C. They lost these guys to the NFL draft a season ago. It's a lot. The optimism is through the roof there. Everybody I talk to, I feel like that covers college football like us. That Oregon is on a short list of a team that could win a national championship this year. Bo Nix though gone. Jackson Powers Johnson gone. Their started center from a year ago. Their wideout Troy Franklin gone. Kyrie Jackson, who sadly lost his life the other night, may he rest easy. Love and condolences to his family. Unfortunately he was drafted by unfortunately he passed away, but he was drafted just by the Minnesota Vikings the other day. Defensive lineman Brandon Dorless gone. Safety Evan Williams, the transfer from Fresno State, gone. Running back Bucky Irving gone. Linebacker Jamal Hill gone. Defensive tackle Popo. I never know how to pronounce these names. Uamave gone. It's a lot to lose, right?
Yeah,
to still think like,
losses.
hey, we're gonna reload, right?
Yeah, Bo Nix 4,500 passing yards. 45 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Freaking ridiculous. Bucky Irving, 2,000 yards seasons back to back. So, yeah, I mean, you have to find new guys to plug and play there, and it's not a guarantee that they're going to be as good as the guys you just had.
Yeah. And it's It's tough, man. Losing that much, and then obviously losing a teammate that you had just pass away. It's fucking terrible. But hey, maybe they can persevere through that. Maybe they can dedicate the season to Kyrie Jackson there. A year ago, the offense was second in the nation in scoring per game, 44.2 points per game. That was first in the Pac-12. Second in yards, 531.4 yards per game. That was first in the Pac-12. 346.9 yards per game, first in the Pac-12, at 29th in rushing, 184.5 yards per game, second in the Pac-12. The offense was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But they lose their starting guy, but they bring in a guy that's been playing college football since goddamn Y.A. Tittle. All right. And that is Dillon Gabriel. They have 5 returning starters, and 3 of the 5 on the offensive line, which I think is encouraging considering we know who the quarterback is. Tight end Terrance Ferguson's back, wide receiver Tez Johnson on the O-line, Cornelius Harper and Connerly all back. And then to me, this is why I think everyone is really optimistic about the Ducks this year is what they've done in the portal. Now they lost a couple guys, mainly Casey Kelly, the tight end, that decided that he realized there was better opportunity, better life elsewhere, and he decided to go to Greenville, North Carolina. Be part of the ECU Pirates.
Crowbarred in there once again. Well done.
You got it. He made a smart. I'm sure Eugene's incredible. I love Autzen Stadium, but Casey Kelly making the right choices in life. Clearly got a good education at Oregon. Ty Thompson's gone, backup quarterback. Got some reps a year ago to the Tulane Green Wave. Dante Dowdell heading out to Nebraska. Ashton Kozar to SMU. Chris Hudson to Washington State. Michael Wooten to Arizona, and Colson Bruner to Washington State as well. But still, you're not losing. I mean, some of those guys I think can be decent on their teams, but man, when you look at what they brought in, not only did they bring in Dillon Gabriel, who's been in college football for 75 years, they brought in Dante Moore from UCLA, who was a top 10 recruit, if memory serves me correct. They also brought in Jay Harris from Northwestern State. You've subscribed to the FCS college football experience. They've been raving about this kid. Evan Stewart, who I got to see in person when I was a guest of the University of Texas A&M last season. Evan Stewart, I mean, I'm telling you, when we went to that game,
popped off,
dude. Right? They haven't even. I knew who he was because he was a big time high school recruit. But I'm on the field while they're warming up, and I just go over and I'm just looking at their wideouts right as they're catching little passes there, and I'm like, man, that motherfucker is just bigger and more athletic than almost every other player on the field, and getting him was huge to me.
He, two seasons at A&M, there 91 catches for 1,100 yards. So not unbelievable stats, but they say his athleticism. I think that's
Jimbo. It runs the shit out of the ball. You know what I mean? Like, they also had quarterback injuries. I think this dude's
they're not bad stats. It's just, he's projected, I'm guessing, to be, their top receiver.
I think you can make an argument. I know everyone's going to talk about
Tez Johnson, I guess, but
Tez Johnson, or just in general, there's a lot of really good wideouts. I feel like this college football season, despite losing Marvin Harrison Jr. and stuff, like McMillan at Arizona's an absolute stud. Luther Burden Jr. at Missouri is a stud. But I think Evan Stewart with someone that knows how to get the ball to their best players.
Yeah,
I think Evan Stewart is a guy that really could be a really good player moving forward, and eventually, like, I think he'll be an NFL wide receiver. Offensive tackle Matthew Bedford comes in from Indiana, and then, whoa.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
Atticus Sappington leaving Oregon State for Oregon. I believe we have something for you. I mean, what in the fuck is that? But dude,
Dillon Gabriel's stats are so ridiculous. He has just shy of 15,000 passing yards. He has 125 touchdown passes in his career. He has over 1,000 rushing yards in his career. This guy
You know
has had a pro career.
And you know what was so smart of them is to get Dante Moore too, because Gabriel tends to get himself injured, I feel like, frequently.
Yeah.
So
as soon as they have the game wrapped up, you need to put Gabriel on the bench and start getting Dante Moore reps and keep Gabriel healthy. That should be the second quarter. Bench Dillon Gabriel. I know he probably doesn't want that because he's got a Heisman campaign that might get started up here pretty quickly, but third quarter, get him off the field.
Yeah. See the Ducks fan saying Dante Dowdell was the biggest loss for him as he headed out to Nebraska. But still, that's killing it in the portal from an offensive standpoint, in my opinion. Every single guy that I think can be a difference maker. Maybe Harris is a little bit, further back on the depth chart, but I'm saying I think they did a really good job going out and getting talent there. The defensive side of the ball. So I would say they won the portal, especially on the offensive side of the ball. We'll talk about the defense. But before we do that, I want to tell you the Oregon Ducks season preview is brought to you by Rhythm. If you're betting on player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right. Let's talk about this defense, Patty C, because they were 9th in the nation. Holding teams is just 16.5 points per game. First in the Pac-12. They were 22nd in yards, third in the Pac-12, 318.4 yards per game. They're giving up 54th in pass defense, but which was still first in the Pac-12. Hilarious. 215.9 yards per game, 10th in rush defense. Ironically, third in the Pac-12. What the hell's going on here? UCLA and Oregon were slightly above them. 102.6 yards per game.
On a Pac-12. That's what that is.
Fucking hilarious. The defense, Patty C, 5 returning starters. Jordan Birch, the former South Carolina Gamecock. Jamari Codwell back at the D tackle spot. 2 linebackers back, Justin Jacobs and Jeffrey Basa. Safety Tysheem Johnson, as well as punter Ross James. Can't forget about the punter. We got 5 guys back on the defensive side of the ball, Patty C. Are you concerned that you'd rather have, obviously preview a lot of these teams? We just previewed Iowa the other day. I feel like I was bringing back their whole goddamn team. Are you concerned 5 starters returning on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, you have to be a little bit concerned with that. You'd like to see more depth, more experience coming back there. And the fact that they weren't great last year, again, that is always the question. If you're not great, do you want new talent to replace your, subpar talent? I don't know if you can call it subpar. They had guys drafted clearly, so they were talented. I think there was just such amazing offenses in the Pac-12 that's probably why their numbers weren't great. But yeah, to answer your question, I think you'd like to see a little more. So there is reason for some concern there.
Yeah, and you're right. Caldwell played for Houston last year. That's my fuck up. But yeah, the portal, they went out and they got guys, but before that, they lost some guys, Patty C. I feel like UNLV getting in here, getting a few guys. Watch out for the Rebs in the Mountain West. YouTube.com/the college experience. A lot of these guys go into smaller schools for the most part. And I'd say, the one that stands out as far as maybe taking a step up to a bigger school is Colin Gill to Georgia in the quarterback spot. But you're going to expect this every year when you recruit the way Oregon can recruit. So,
still, you don't like to see, well, depending on their additions.
Their additions though, they went out and I see the chat's already talking about it. Bringing in Caldwell from Houston. We'll see if that if that is a step up, because Houston was not very good last year, but he was. Derek Harmon started at Michigan State, and Brandon Johnson, the guy that I know Mike Elko raved about Brandon Johnson. I actually thought he would follow Elko to Texas A&M. But Oregon was able to come in and grab him. Cam Alexander coming in from UTSA. Jabbar Muhammad, who was a very good corner for Washington last year. Prior to that, he was at Oklahoma State. So nice get there. Peyton Woodyard coming in from Bama. Kobe Savage was a beast at Kansas State. This is what I mean. It's like they killed it in the portal, man. you can tell that they're going all in. Look, we previewed Ole Miss. We said, it looks like Ole Miss is going all in on their roster, trying to win a national championship this year. The same can be said with Oregon. I don't know what this roster cost, but look, man, those guys are all huge transfer gets. You know what I mean? Like,
heavy into the defensive backfield, and the number, like you mentioned before, 54 passing defense. So I'm sure he wants that number to improve. I'm sure after Washington hung 30 on him twice, that they don't want someone throwing the ball all over them. I don't think that's as big of a threat in the Big Ten as it was in the Pac-12, but still, yeah, you want to have plenty of depth, and they definitely established that in the secondary at least. They've been good in the trenches, so I don't know that that's been as big an area of need for them.
Yeah. I don't know, man, but the dude, like, to me, getting all those guys, Harmon was highly sought after. Brandon Johnson, I thought, was sought after. Muhammad, we thought he might go to Bama and follow DeBauer. So, I mean, just going out and getting those guys was absolutely. I can't recall a time where Oregon went and got more big names in the portal than say this year. So, well,
and now they just went and got their highest recruit ever, the receiver, Catrion, I forget what his last name was. Just picked him up the other day. So, yeah, I mean, they're opening up the checkbooks. I mean, that kind of has to be what you think is happening from the transfer portal. That is probably the biggest factor in who gets these transfers, right? It's just who's paying the most money. I mean, obviously,
for the most part, there might be a coaching connection. Some of them might be a coaching connection, but yeah, I think for the most part, it's who can get a big old bag of cash. But man, it's impressive. It's impressive.
CBS Sports released top 100 players for the 2024 season, college football season. Oregon had a bunch. I'll rattle them off real quick. Number 20, Dillon Gabriel. Number 22 is Evan Stewart. We mentioned. Number 32, cornerback Jabbar Muhammad. Number 37, Jamari Caldwell. 67 is Tez Johnson, the wideout. 71 is Josh Connolly Jr., the offensive tackle, who apparently was great in protecting Bo Nix last year. And I believe that's it. So, but it seems like about 6 of the top 100 players in the nation on Oregon. That's a talented roster.
Yeah. Shout out to longtime listener Dick Gertzberger. He's still pissed off that Donald the Duck isn't on their uniform.
Definitely should be.
They always have fire logos, though, dude. I agree, though. It's better than just the green O. You know what I mean? You got to get that thing on there.
Dude, call me sus if you want, but when they had those black uniforms with the yellow and pink neon all over them, I thought those were the most slept on fantastic uniforms I've seen in a long time. Amazing.
Dude, no, I go 90s. Ricky Whittle, Alex Molden era.
They had great uniforms.
Those are so fire. But all of them are pretty fun for the most part. Yeah, but I think this defense will be. What do you think? Do you think? See, that's another thing is they played so many high-powered offenses a year ago because the Pac-12 they're known for that. The Big Ten is the complete opposite. You're going to get Spencer Petras. Well, he's not. You're not going to get him this year because he's transferred. But you get my point. The Big Ten, short of Ohio State, even Michigan is not a team that throws the ball all around.
Especially with Alex Orji at quarterback, they're going to be all in the trenches. That's where all their work's getting done. So hopefully Oregon's ready for that in the big house. But other than that, I mean, Ohio State, they're going to throw the ball around. Although, from what I understand, Will Howard hasn't even secured the starting job, and if Devin Brown is their starting quarterback,
Julian Sayin, it might be Julian Sayin.
Depending, yeah. I mean, you would assume just based on their wide receiver room that Ohio State's going to be able to throw the ball, but Devin Brown wasn't a great, passer last year, so maybe they don't even have to worry about it against Ohio State. I doubt that.
Chip Kelly's there now. The UCLA ran the rock last year. Maybe Chip Kelly's coming in there.
They do have 2 great runners.
Let's talk about this win total because it's set at 10.5. Patty C, are you shocked at that number? Are you? Because look, and by the way, it is juiced. So it is plus 100 to the over, minus 120. So Vegas basically saying this team's going 10-2, which means they would be in the playoff. And if they go 10-2, I think they would probably not get the bye week. but maybe it's possible. So they would be, more likely, I would say, they would be hosting a playoff game in Autzen, which I think would be amazing for the sport of college football. They're plus 215 to win the Big Ten championship. To make the 12-team playoff, yes, minus 300, no, plus 230. So Beaver fans, load up. To win the Natty, plus 850. Your thoughts? Which one stands out to you? Just without, I know we're going to go game by game on the schedule, but which one stands out to you like, hey,
best value?
This would be the best value. Smartest bet. Yeah.
I mean, win the Natty. I think they're on a very short list of top contenders for that. So plus 850, decent return on investment there.
Yeah. For me, I think, the plus 850 to win the Natty.
Yeah, I think the minus 300 to make the playoff is probably free money, as Aurelian points out in the chat.
Because you got to figure, not every Big Ten team, but if you go 9-3, you're probably in. I know that we did this exercise last year using the 12-team model for last season, and LSU went 9-3 and would not have made it. So I don't want to say it's a guarantee, but I think even if you lose 3 games, you're still probably in if you're Oregon.
Well, okay. So that third loss, that would, I assume, come in the Big Ten championship game, or I don't know. We'd have to. Do you think 9-3 gets you in? I don't know that 9-3 does get you in. Although against some of the teams that are on this slate, certainly Michigan, Ohio State, those are understandable losses. I don't know if there's a third loss.
They're going to be preseason top 5, and I can't emphasize that enough because that's how the system works against you in a way. It's like you'll never drop down that far. Whereas like if you're Iowa or Northwestern or something that goes 9-3, you're never going to climb up that high. You're not going to have that luxury. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's go game by game on the schedule. And if you're wondering, on the right side here, I power ranked the games 1 through 12, 12 being the easiest, 1 being the hardest. Let's jump into it. Week 1, the Idaho Vandals, Jason Eck coming to town. They've been, if you follow FCS football, I host the FCS college football experience, and their whole team transferred out. So not that it would have been a close game, even if McCoy was the starting quarterback and a few of their other guys had been there. But the Vandals ain't getting that thing done. They stay in the state of Idaho as Boise State comes week 2. Patty C. Boise State is undefeated against Oregon historically. Classic
That's
game
wild.
where LeGarrette Blunt punched that guy. One of my favorite moments. Shout out to LeGarrette Blunt. He's been on the show. Patty C., is there any way that Malachi Nelson, former 5-star quarterback, goes into Autzen and knocks off the Ducks at home here?
I would never say there's no way. Like you said, 2 of those 3 wins that they have against Oregon have been in Autzen. Granted, I think those are Chris Peterson coach teams. Were all 3 of them Peterson coach teams?
I think Harsin got him once.
Harsin might have gotten him once. Yeah.
I think Harsin got him once. But yes, Spencer Danielson, new head coach at Boise, kind of the unknown. I know he was 3-1 in as an interim head coach last season. Might have been 4-0 had their quarterback opted out of the bowl game there against UCLA. I don't know. I'm kind of the jury's still out on Danielson. I'm excited. I get to interview him next week at Mountain West Media Day. But
well, as you pointed out, when you have a quarterback as talented as Malachi Nelson is, even if he just gets it done on his own with his feet, the talent can open things up quite a bit for them and become a wild card.
It's a good Ashton Jeanty is a fucking stud running back for Boise as well. You still have to take, I know Oregon has not beaten Boise, but I'm taking Oregon in Autzen. I know Malachi Nelson is still a young guy. He's never started. This will be a second start of his career in college football. So 2-0, right?
He's going against Tom Brady of college football, Dillon Gabriel, in terms of experience here.
Yeah. Then week 3, we got the Civil War. Shame on you, Big Ten. Look, Oregon athletic director, if you're listening to this, all right, Washington athletic director, if you're listening to this, that's cute. You put the Civil War and the Apple Cup in week 3. We appreciate it on the schedule. It's better than not on the schedule. But this should end the season. If the fucking ACC and SEC can figure this out, all right? If they can figure it out, Clemson plays South Carolina, Florida State plays Florida, Georgia Tech plays Georgia, then Louisville plays Kentucky. Then damn it, you can figure this out. We want the Civil War the final week of the goddamn season. We want the Apple Cup the final week of the goddamn season. Figure it out.
Let me ask you this.
What's that?
Which is a bigger hornet's nest to go into at the end of the season for these teams? Oregon, if say they had to go to Washington, obviously that game's at home this year, but if they had to go to Washington or going to Oregon State, going to Corvallis, which one would they not want to be at the end of the season?
Well, they lost twice to Washington last year, so I think right now you would say Washington, but I mean both teams are depleted. Both teams lost everybody. I just think Oregon State because of the in-state little brother factor. You know what I mean? Like over time, it would be Oregon State.
I mean, there was a significant level of hatred and has been for a long time between Washington and Oregon, but I do think the little brother angle, especially getting left behind, if there's a team that's going to be ready to bite them, especially on the last game of the season, it would be Oregon State. But still, week 3, they'll probably be ready for them.
They're going to roll them, and Oregon State lost everybody.
Oh yeah, I mean talent-wise,
they're going to roll them. Oregon's going to be 3-0. Bye a week after that, then they had, and I'll tell you this, man. One of the things I noticed was they get 6 first-year head coaches on this schedule. Boise's got a new head coach. Oregon State's got a new head coach. Next up, UCLA's got they have 4 straight. UCLA and then Michigan State. Unbelievable schedule in that regard. Deshaun Foster, the new head coach at UCLA after Chip Kelly bolted for an offensive coordinating position at Ohio State. Foster, former UCLA Bruin alum. I know he's near, and he holds the program in high regard, but it was kind of a weird hire. Like it was almost like they were just going to get to me the bot. Like they didn't want to spend to. We thought. I remember when we did our emergency episode, we thought Chris Peterson might be a guy UCLA calls.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of what Notre Dame did with the tight end coach. In his first year at Notre Dame as the offensive coordinator for Marcus Freeman. They didn't give Marcus Freeman who he wanted. The guy lasted like a year or two, I think just a year. Then they go out and get Denbrock. I think it pays to spend the money, and so I don't know that UCLA is going to be happy with that hire in a few years.
Yeah, they need that Big Ten money to start coming in. They owe Cal $10 million a year, but this is a win at the Rose Bowl. Oregon will have half the crowd. I don't see this being a threat.
Yeah,
you?
No.
Yeah. Then Michigan State comes to town. Jonathan Smith. I'm a big fan of him as a head coach, but I just don't. I think it's too early. Aiden Childs is a quarterback that I do think is going to end up being a stud. I just think if this was in East Lansing, maybe you could say, but it's year 1. I got them beating Michigan State. I got them 5-0. You?
So Oregon rocked Oregon State last year, and I guess they did lose to them 2 years ago. So it's not that Jonathan Smith has never beaten Oregon, but I think this is the different situation here. I do think that there's more talent at Michigan State than I think most people realize. And so I think they'll be a little better, but still, I don't see this as a threat, especially in Eugene.
Yeah. Yeah. And then comes the big game. Can they complete the sweep? This is one that was scheduled before conference expansion or conference realignment, I should say. Remember Oregon went into the horseshoe and knocked off Ohio State. That game was hilarious to me because I was hanging out with some Ohio State fans, but
what was the play they ran like 500 times? And it just ran it over.
That was the most shocking thing was they beat them they just whooped their ass in the trenches, man.
Yeah.
That's when you knew that Lou Holtz's statement might be accurate, right?
That Ohio State soft.
Yeah, I knew Holtz's statement was later, but I'm just saying it's funny. This is the game, and this is pretty much what comes down to my analysis of this season, Patty C. I think between Ohio State and Michigan, they can even lose one of those games.
Yes.
But I kind of think like Ohio State's got the unknown position to me at the quarterback spot.
Yeah.
Dillon Gabriel's a 7th-year senior. I'm taking Oregon at home to beat Ohio State. Now, would that shock me if Ohio
College
State
game
won?
day will certainly be there. Is there a time? I'm assuming it's 7 p.m.
I haven't looked, but my point is, like, it wouldn't shock me if Ohio State beat them, but at the same time, I'm taking Oregon based on the home field advantage and having a fucking 7-year starting quarterback. Now, if Dillon Gabriel gets injured against UCLA or Michigan State, I'll reassess after that. But Will Howard is a question mark for me. He doesn't. That was a random. Like, I like Will Howard. He's a football guy, right? He's a guy that's going to run for that first down and run you over. But it doesn't. It was surprising to me that Ohio State, didn't get Cam Ward. We thought they were going to get Cam Ward or Dillon Gabriel, and they end up with Will Howard, who's not the most accurate passer. Like, he's all right.
Yeah. I heard a comparison of Will Howard to DJU. Big, a little bit of wheels. Can get some running yards, some tough running yards. Obviously a big arm, but you're right, not always accurate.
I'm taking Oregon right now. Blindly, I would say Oregon -3. What about you?
That's my lean as well. I do think that, Judkins and Henderson in the Ohio State backfield are going to be a lot for Oregon to deal with. I don't know if the rumors or the idea that Ohio State is soft is indeed the fact. I'm sure that they're going to try and correct that perception of themselves. But I think just at home, I think you're right. I think Oregon's just got a hair of an advantage there.
Yeah. So that would put me at 6-0. Now the very next week, it's a short week. Friday night, they play at Purdue.
Spoiler
That's
makers.
Dangerous. That is dangerous to me. Just because you'd be partying your ass off. Damn well Eugene would be on fire. You're doing magic mushrooms, all that good shit. But that I still got him beating Purdue. But I will say, if you're looking for the landmine game, there's 2 on the schedule.
That would be an appropriate introduction to the Big Ten, is experiencing the spoiler makers in all of their glory.
And then, so you got them 7-0 then, right?
Yes.
7-0. Then they're home to Illinois. 8-0. I think Illinois is going to struggle in Autzen. Then comes the game at Michigan. Look, just to play. If I gave them Ohio State, I'm saying Michigan beats them. It might be vice versa. It might be Ohio State gets them, but I do think they're going to drop one game. But they could. It wouldn't shock me if they beat Michigan here.
I mean, I feel like they're the better team than Michigan.
But I feel like the Michigan's defense, I do think, will be able to shut down some of the Oregon gimmicks that they always run.
Yeah.
And the fact you're at the big house, the fact it is November 2nd, it's anyone's game, but I'll take Michigan.
Can we talk about Oregon last year and some of their performances in these games? I think there's an oversized, perception of what they did in the Fiesta Bowl. I think that when I went back and watched that game just earlier today, watched the highlights at least.
The Liberty game?
Yeah. I mean
that was disgusting.
That was an ass kicking, but a lot of things kind of bounced their way in that game. I don't think they were that much better of a team than Liberty, but that's the lasting impression. And that's why everyone's thinking, okay, Dan Lanning is like Kirby Smart. He gets really well prepared for these big games and he absolutely dominates in them. We'll see. I mean, the other games on the schedule that were big games, I would say last year, obviously the 2 against Washington, he lost. He did slap Utah around pretty well, but USC was a little bit of trouble for them. So I don't know that they're, necessarily this insanely amazing team that we're all thinking they were in the Fiesta Bowl. So maybe we need to pump the brakes on them a little bit, but still.
Well, I will say, I did think Texas Tech outplayed Oregon and they let them off the hook. But other than that, they were pretty fucking good all year. Amazon in the chat says Oregon does not run a gimmicky offense anymore. My point is, it's kind of like one of the knocks with Bo Nix getting drafted was that it was a one read offense. I remember doing the podcast for SGP where, a lot of times, if it wasn't there, he's going to run it or something like that. That was part of the knock against him, but he did go higher than what everyone was projecting. So I guess what the fuck do we know? But yeah, and you're right. Chip Kelly's years were more gimmicky for sure. But I still, they're Oregon. They're still like, to me, I mean, they're going for the fourth downs, right before the half against Washington, where I was like, what the fuck are they doing? I don't know. Would you still describe their offense as gimmicky, Patty C?
No, I mean, I would say it has, like you said, and there's elements, they have some trick plays in there that they still like to run. But as far as, what was it, Dennis Dixon doing behind the back Statue of Liberty fakes? Yeah, they're not doing that.
Well, I wasn't trying to paint it as that. I was just trying to say, like, when we did the NFL draft preview and had guys on, like, one of the knocks against Bo Nix was it was a one read offense. Now, like I said, clearly it wasn't too big of a knock because he went higher than what everyone was fucking projected. We'll see how that works
Dillon
out.
Gabriel, you would assume that they're able to, he's more capable of making reads. He's played in more sophisticated offenses. I mean, Bo Nix largely relied on his athleticism at Auburn and wasn't able to, I guess, develop into the quarterback that they wanted. So maybe Bo Nix ain't that bright.
At Auburn, you mean? At Auburn, you're saying?
Well, I mean, he did great at Oregon too, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they were running a super high tech offense. He generated insane numbers. So, I'd be lying if I hadn't heard that bit about it being a one read offense or whatever. So I thought they looked fine with him at the helm. But if that is the case, that, they weren't doing advanced stuff with him, I think that Gabriel is a more mentally experienced quarterback, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that if anything, it wasn't even me that said it. I'm just saying that was one of the knocks I heard. Gotcha. Was that. Anyway, so you got them beating Michigan. You got them staying undefeated?
No, I think they'll take a loss in one of those two games, or certainly by then they'll have a loss, but just one.
I'm with you. Then Mike Loxley and the Maryland Terrapins play at Oregon. This game might be the game that I just never want to watch. Is there like something about Maryland playing Oregon is fucking horrible to me.
Under Armour versus Nike. There's your angle.
There you go. There you go. They'll beat the piss out of Maryland. I was doing the Maryland preview. Let me see if I can pull this stat up right now. I believe it was Maryland is 1 or technically 2-24 under Mike Loxley against teams with winning records. But get this. One of those wins was a bowl win where NC State's entire, like Devin Leary sat out. Everyone sat out. So basically they're 1-23 against teams with winning records under Mike Loxley. Power 5 teams with winning records. That's fucking incredible. They're going to destroy Maryland here.
They will. I mean, you can't sleep on the fact that Maryland's had 2 8-win seasons in a row.
I can. I just did.
Well, you do.
They beat nobody good. They beat Charlotte in the non-con, and I will never take Maryland seriously.
I mean, especially in Eugene, that's a super long trip, coast to coast. I don't know. Maryland, on another topic a little bit. I'm surprised that they haven't made more noise in the recruiting game or in the transfer portal game, just because if Phil Knight is willing to open up his pocketbook, whoever the CEO of Under Armour, you would think would be able to start bringing in talent that, at least keeping talent home that often goes to Penn State and Ohio State and leaves Maryland, especially given the fact that he's an ace recruiter in Maryland, But
I thought I read that Under Armour, over the past couple of years, their company's lost a lot of money.
Oh, really?
I could be full of shit. Anyway, you got a beating Maryland?
Yes.
This is, I think, the biggest potential pothole. They go to Madison to take on the Dairy Raid offense, as the chat was saying earlier, and Luke Fickell and the Wisconsin Badgers. This place is fucking insane. I can hear jump around playing. You know what I mean? Just
Wisconsin does have a bye before this game.
This is the one. I think if you're looking for that second loss where you could lose your over 10.5 wins, I think it's here. But are we really buying into Wisconsin? I mean, it's a tough place to play. I'll say that. And especially on November 16th, that's just going to be cold as fuck. But
Yeah, I mean, that is probably an environment that's going to be tough for them to go into. I would expect Wisconsin to improve. I know that obviously when they played in the past, what was it, the Rose Bowl? Even that was a good game. They were both really good teams. That was with when they had DeAnthony Thomas, or was it DeAnthony Thomas? So it's been a long time since they've played, and they're completely different teams now. I think, the cold weather could be a problem, but still, I think Oregon's a good enough team to go in there and get this win. Is it the second loss by this point in the season? No, I don't think so. I got them winning this game.
If we're going game by game, I think this could be the one that trips them. But like I said, and give me them to win. Because if I have them losing at Michigan, I don't think they're going to lose 2 games that close. Now, if they lose to Ohio State, I could see them losing this game. They got a bye week on the 23rd. Then they're hosting Washington.
Real quick, Amazon in the chat saying it's not that cold in Madison, Wisconsin in November. Average high 46, average low 27. So especially if this is a night game, it could be freezing temperatures. I don't think you want to just write this off as a fair weather game.
Dude, I went to a fucking Packers game. Now I know Green Bay is not in Madison, but I went to a Redskins Packers game in November when I was doing stand up in Milwaukee. And let me tell you, it's fucking cold. I mean, maybe sometimes it won't be. I don't know, but I'm saying when I was there was snow on the fucking like. It didn't snow during the game, but it was like there was snow in the parking lot and shit. Like the plows had snowed, built up on the sides. It was fucking cold, but yeah, I mean,
could be a phenomenal environment for a game. It almost certainly will be.
Yeah. Anyway, they get a bye week and they're home to Washington. I'm a skeptic on the Washington hire. The more I do a deep dive on Washington, the more I'm a skeptic on the Jed Fish hire. I have them beating Washington here, and I think Washington's going to have a really bad season this year. How do you see? I think I lean over on 10.5. I wouldn't bet this though, because I think 10-2 is certainly possible. I think your better play is to just take them to make the playoffs. I think that's to me the smarter play there is just to take the -300. I know it's not great, or the +210, because I'll tell you this. Even if they lose to Wisconsin, let's play devil's advocate. If they lose to Ohio State, Michigan, and Wisconsin, they're going to win one of those fucking games.
Yeah, they're not losing all 3 of those.
Yeah, at least win one of those games. And if it's 2 losses, is that good enough to get you to the Big Ten championship, Petty C? Because we just went through. We have Ohio State on deck. We're doing Ohio State tomorrow, but Ohio State schedule, we kind of project, I know, just from episodes when the Big Ten released their schedule, Ohio State will be in that mix, and probably the winner of that Oregon game will have the tiebreaker. But Iowa's got a very easy path, man. Iowa's one to keep an eye on. Obviously, you have Michigan, the reigning national champions. We're kind of guessing about their offense, but...
Well, I think it all is going to come down to, I mean, yes, if Iowa does go 11-1 or something, then no, obviously 10-2 with 2 conference losses isn't going to get you into the Big Ten championship game. But if either Michigan or Ohio State has 2 losses as well, and the team that also has 2 losses is the one they beat, if they have the tiebreaker, in other words, then yes, I could easily see 2 losses helping Oregon get in. But I don't know. I think they get one of Ohio State and Michigan. I could see a surprise loss coming somewhere else in the schedule. So I don't know. I still want to lean over, though. This team has had 4 losses in the regular season in the 2 years, or I guess 5. If you just don't count his first game when he got smashed by Georgia, the other 4 losses that he's had have been by 4 points or less. 4 points, 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. So he's losing close games to really good teams. I think they're a really solid program, and I don't expect them to get caught by any, second-rate teams.
But my point is, the smarter bet is to make the playoff at -300, right? Even though I know it's terrible fucking odds compared to what was it?
I think that.
What's that? Did you break up?
Yeah, it seems like a
okay.
90% chance they're 90% chance they're in the playoff, I would say.
Yeah. What about plus 850? Win the Natty.
I love it. And, the more I think about it, I think they go to the national championship, and I think they lose to Georgia in Atlanta. That's kind of what I'm thinking, how it goes down here.
Yeah. And shout out to Amazon. He goes, thank you for quitting stand-up. I didn't quit stand-up, buddy. All right. And the Bill Burr shtick didn't work out, but I ate your mom's pussy last night, you fucking jackass. All right. You
I love this guy.
Your fucking parents. Yeah.
gotta have a shit talker in the chat every now and then.
Yeah. It's fun. We recommend it. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Dude, I think it's worth taking a sprinkle on the 850, especially if you're a Ducks fan. Jump in that plus 850. If you get the first round bye, what would you rather have, Patty C? Would you rather have the bye week? Because we see so often in the NFL draft or in the NFL playoffs that the team that gets the bye week normally gets upset in week, the second week. You could host a game, bring in a bunch of money to Autzen and Eugene, then ride that momentum into playing potentially like, I don't know, the Big 12 champ, ACC champ.
Yeah. I mean, if they are the 5 seed, it's likely that, I think if they do it the same way they had done before, which is the higher seeds kind of get first choice on the bowl game locations, then I'm pretty sure the Big 12 team will be Oklahoma or whoever it is going to be stuck with the Fiesta Bowl as the 4th seed. And if Oregon is the 5 seed and comes in and doesn't have to travel into SEC country, in other words, then they might have a home crowd there in the semifinal or quarterfinals, and then they find themselves in the semifinals. Then you're in good shape right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you sprinkle that plus 850 all day. All right. Jump in on that and let's go. Folks, that's our show. Make sure you give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. We will be continuing to break down all 134 college football teams in the FBS. Also, check out the FCS College Football Experience for more on that and the Stadium Heads podcast. You a big fan of Autzen Stadium? Get yourself out there and get yourself, if you haven't been, you got to get yourself out there, but get yourself over to the Stadium Heads podcast. Tonight, we're going live talking MAC stadiums, myself and College Football Campus Tour, a.k.a. Michael Barker. Also, if you're listening to our weekly series, as far as previewing each week, we're postponing this week because I will be at Mountain West Media Day, or Media Days, I should say. So, expect more over there at TCE on SGPN. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate the whole chat, even that jackass Amazon. Let's go. All right. Get the SGPN app. It's free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And until next time, folks, this is the College Football Experience. Quack, quack, quack. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here. Run and shoot.